questions you're asking is the best questions I've ever had. Of how do you do the sport? When somebody kicks you, punches you, don't you feel pain? Today, I will advise you to spend every single day for 6 hours making YouTube videos because the sports system is corrupt. Our business model as Brave, from the financial perspective, we are looking at sports development, talent, and the economy.
حياكم الله اخواني، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. احمد الشروقي حييكم، حياكم الله في حساب عربي MMA. اليوم عندنا ضيف من العيار الثقيل، ضيف ما تمنيت استضيفه من زمان، بس اليوم قدرت اجيبه في الاستديو، والاستديو ذي اللي خلوني هالمدة اقطع عن الحساب واقطع عن وكثير من الاشياء اللي كنت اتابعها في رياضة الامامية، لكن الحين بنرجع ان شاء الله وردتنا قوية. ضيفنا شخصية خطيرة جدا، شخصية بدأت كمقاتل، بدأ عقب تحول من مقاتل إلى مدرب، ومن مدرب إلى أنا ليش أقول السالفة، خلنا نمشي شوي شوي بس سامحوني بنقلب بالإنجليزي وعقب تقدرون نشوف السبتايتل بالعربي. First of all, welcome. I'm really happy to accept my invitation.
Oh, thank you very much. It's an honor to be your first guest, and inshallah I think there'll be more guests from here, and thank you for having me.
Muhammad Shahid, you started as a fighter,
Yes.
and then you be a coach, and then you be owner of a gym. But a lot of people, they don't know, they think that you are you came from very rich family.
No,
Tell me about your history.
No, definitely not. I think for me, MMA was my life, and my beginning was a little bit of a difficult one because the time when I started, there was no mixed martial art in the region. There was not really a direction of how you could become a professional. To be honest, I didn't even know that this could become a career in my life. I never thought about it. For me, like many other kids, we were excited with Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and Bruce Lee, and Van Damme movies. And you always love martial arts, and you want to follow these martial artists. And that was really why I enjoyed martial arts. But one day, one of my coaches that I was training with, and this was Taekwondo coach, and I was training Taekwondo when I was really young. And I don't know why, but he just asked me, how many of you students would like to make this your career?
Okay.
And that's the first time I thought, wait, can you make this a career? And then the first one to raise the hand was me, because I loved what I was doing. I loved training, I loved martial arts. And then he said, very good. That was the first time and the last time he spoke about it. I don't know why did he ask,
Okay.
but for me, that seed that was in my head that day, that was a big part of pursuing this dream. And as I grew older, I decided one day that I have to do this as full time. And how can I do this full time if I don't have the full actual time? And I wouldn't advise this to anybody, but I had to make a decision because I didn't have a coach who could train me MMA or develop this skill for myself. So I knew that I have to spend a lot of time training, but also a lot of time learning how to train. You had to do both together. You had to become a teacher and a student at the same time. So I did
Very difficult.
Very difficult, and I didn't have that time. So I had to stop going to school and decide to pursue this. Even the time that I go to school to learn the most important things like science and math,
Okay.
I thought of learning what is a kick and a punch and the jiu-jitsu and wrestling. And I spent more time learning that. I don't regret it, but I think today we have the opportunity to do both together. But in my time, everything that I know from business to life, being a person, being a human being, being everything, learned from martial arts. And to pursue that dream, it was difficult because nobody believed that you can become, not in a bad way, but how can you believe when you haven't seen someone doing it,
Yes.
someone achieving it?
Yes.
So I would never complain. I would never complain that I didn't have support, or I would have done that at that position if my son wanted to do that and go into MMA and there was nobody to show that this can be a career, I would have also told them not to do it. So the pressure from family, the pressure from people around, everything was a lot. And I had to take a decision to shut everything else in my life and go for it. And the best thing was, because I left school, my back was against the wall.
Okay.
So there was no going back.
No back at
There's
all.
no other opportunity.
Yes.
So I had to go all in and make sure that I do achieve something in the sport.
So now, when they see you, what do you think that they say about it, or they think that okay, he's a fighter, so he fought for his idea, and fighting. I always say, even in my gym or anywhere, the life is fight. Life is fighting.
True.
You will fight for anything you believe that.
True.
And then you fight, and you fight. Tell me about your fighting until that you feel that. I'm sure that the life sometimes does not give you everything. Tell me about the moment that you feel that, I will give up.
I think for me, you're absolutely right when you say that everything is fighting. And I don't think anything can teach you how to fight than fighting.
Yes.
And this is for me, I always say that. And when everything I did in my life, that what you said was always the motto, that I could go to a coach who has trained swimming for 25 years. Every single day he practices swimming, every kind of style of swimming. But the only problem is I actually was practicing for 25 years all the styles in my couch, in my sofa, and not actually in the sea or in the water.
This is the main things that
why don't you have confidence in that individual or the coach? And that is something that we see in martial arts a lot as well. But in life, how can you be a fighter if fighting cannot teach you what life is? I think for me, that was the most important thing. Every time, like you said, I did lose a lot of hope in between. Every single second, something wrong happens, you question, you doubt yourself. And that is very normal. I learned that from fighting, that when I used to train martial arts, one thing is every kick, every punch hurts you. There's nothing that it doesn't pain. The pain exists. That's the whole idea about competition. In martial arts, you do get pain. But you reach to a point, and one day I realized, somebody asked me, how do you do the sport? When somebody kicks you, punches you, don't you feel pain? And I sat for a second. I know it's a very simple question, but I sat for a second and thought, why did I forget to think about that pain for
this
the
is very good. Yeah, why? You think that it's a pain.
It is true. It really exists. He's not lying. But I didn't think about it because that pain didn't exist. Not because it was not there. It didn't exist because my mind was not focused on pain. The pain was not the goal. When you throw a punch or a kick, my question is, why did I get punched? Why couldn't I avoid the punch? Why did I get kicked? What should I do when somebody kicks me the next time? My thought is positive and ahead and learning. It was not about what I felt. So I learned from fighting that feelings is there in your life forever. How do you understand feeling, your emotions, and how can you become the master playing orchestra while the violin and every music instruments are playing at the same time, creating the most beautiful music, and the master is playing the orchestra. Those music instruments are your feelings, sadness, happiness, anxiety, excitement, fear, everything. Can you play the orchestra and balance them? Or each feeling controls you? So how do you achieve reaching to become the master of your own feelings? Is to be able to learn and understand them and look beyond those feelings and learn how to make yourself better to deal with it. And with fighting, that question changed a lot of things for me because, yes, I stopped thinking about it because I started looking at the positive and looking at how can I learn to avoid it. And it was that bigger picture that taught us.
Let's say the beginning of making Brave. So tell me about it and how difficult to be in this field.
It is definitely, you're right, where a lot of people think it is easy to
Yes.
make an organization, to make a promotion, or just to hold an event itself. And I think it is correct and wrong, because somehow it is easy if you want to just make an event. You know, it depends on what their goals are. If your goal is to do something for the sake of showing people that I have done an event, fantastic, you can do an event. But if your ultimate goal is to do something that is to benefit somebody else, then you have to make sure that person benefits from it.
Yes.
Otherwise, the result is not achieved. So the question that I always ask is, yes, you could become promotions around the world, or you could become organizations or build a brand. But are you really, what is your goal and what are you trying to achieve? Once we understand that, then we can have an understanding if they are achieving or not. My problem with the MMA industry is a lot of people say that my goals are A, but what they're working towards is B. This is where I have an issue. If you say that I want to work towards B, fantastic, and you achieve your goals. But if you say A, then we will judge you on your development, on your results, trying to achieve A. But you cannot say one and do the other. So for me, when we started, like when you asked about, did I think that I would reach where I am today? I would definitely say that I knew that I would do something big, and I want to be the most successful in what I do. And I always thought I would be. But it was always I will be the best fighter. I will be the best coach. I will do this. I will do that. It was always about me and how I want to be the best in what I do and my career. Until the day I had my first talk with His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad.
Okay.
That was a day my life took a turn, that to realize that there is something, a new world that is much more bigger than I.
Okay.
And that is everybody else. And I would have never thought that I would be able to be part of many more thousands of lives, and being part of helping them build something, helping a whole industry build from countries that I've never thought existed before. And knew I would have never thought that. I would have always, yes, you are right. I did think that I would be the best at what I do, but it was me. But after I met His Highness Sheikh Khalid, I knew that it was much more bigger. And that is exactly the answer to how did Brave start, because the vision of His Highness was much more bigger than a team or an individual or what we can achieve. It was about something that will be an establishment, that will be a part of changing the whole mixed martial art industry in the world, and making sure that we are not only for the athletes, but the sports development, the athlete, and most importantly, the economy of the sport itself of mixed martial art, how we can reform it and bring it to a new world. And that
are you satisfied with the success Brave has achieved so far?
Absolutely. I mean, if you just look at what we have achieved in terms of what we have achieved for Bahrain, that is one. Satisfied with what we've achieved for athletes around the world, that is number two. But what we've achieved for the sport itself is also one of the biggest things that we are satisfied with. And these three things, if you look at the results of what we achieved for Bahrain, for athletes, and for the sport of MMA, you will see that this has been a success story. And most importantly, it's not only about how the global brand that Brave has become, but it's about how consistent we were in growth. We did not follow a spike in growth and then crash. We were consistent in growth. We didn't race with anybody. We grew gradually. Even during the COVID time, we were one of the only organizations that did events.
In business, they said when you enter, let's say, very, what they call it, it's a red ocean, or they call it shark tank. You enter very dangerous place, because a lot of organization, and they want to control the world. And I can feel that a lot of them are fighting not let Brave grow more and more. Do you have any secret that tell me, or to tell us story that happened to you, that let's say, for example, that you go to one country that, we don't want you, or something like that happened to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I was just cracking this joke with someone very recently when I was talking about MMA, and they were talking about competition in the market, in the MMA industry. And I was like, it is funny because we have traveled to 35 countries in 5 continents. You will notice that for me,
again, number
35 countries in 5 continents.
35. Okay, thank you. Okay, continue.
Because I travel to all these countries, every country that we go to, maybe it could be the Balkan part of Europe, maybe it could be Central Europe, maybe it could be somewhere in Asia, but every place I go to, I hear a story from that industry where they talk about, oh, this competition does not want you here. But then I'm like, hold on, but in this part of the world, you don't want me here. But in another part of the world, somebody else don't want me here. And it doesn't matter because every place that I went to with Brave, there was some organization that didn't want us. And it was their little swimming pool that they were being sharks in. And it does not really matter because we always say that when you have 2 people fighting over a cake, find another cake. Let them fight over that cake. Why do you want to be part of that cake and fight for the same cake? It's always good to be different. And as long as your goals are clear, your vision is clear, this is most important.
Brave is a Bahraini championship with a global identity. So now a lot of people knows about Bahrain because of what we reach in fighting.
If you think about it, I mean, in the end of the day, we are Brave Combat Federation. We are proud to be a Bahraini organization. We are founded from Bahrain. And for me, every time I speak about Brave, I tell them, people ask me, okay, every country that we go to, whether it's investors, whether it's media, businessmen, everybody sits with us and tells us, tell us about Brave. And I say that, hold on, before I talk about Brave, you will not understand what we're trying to do with Brave if you don't understand Bahrain. And this is one of the most important things. We are proud to be a Bahraini organization founded in Bahrain. And like you mentioned, I would put it in a way where we say that we are global in mind and local in heart. So we are very proud to be a Bahraini organization, but it's also, for me, a very important part of Brave as a brand. Because if you want to understand Brave, you have to understand Bahrain. Bahrain has been the innovators in sport. You have to make this clear that we're the first ones to bring F1 into the region. We're the first ones to bring Ironman into the region. We are the first team to go to Tour de France. If you think about the history of how we have been part of being the innovative part of sports and leading sports in the region, it clearly shows that if you understand that part of the vision of His Highness Sheikh Nasser, His Highness Sheikh Khalid, and what we have achieved as Bahrain for sports, it was not been about competition. It was not being bigger than somebody else. It was always about being innovative and bringing something that we need as a country in sports and how we can develop sports and make it better. And that is exactly what Brave's culture and where the Brave's ethos come from as principles of the business comes from that area where it is not about competition with anybody. It is more really about how we can make the sport of mixed martial art better. So why we have Bahrain flag is one is pride, but at the same time, it is also for us to sit there and say that you want to know Brave. If you look at this flag, if you look at this country as Bahrain, you will understand us much better, and it'll be easier for me as a businessman and a president to explain our goals, because we are no different from what Bahrain has been achieving for a very long time. Brave is just showing that to the world.
For the people think that this podcast is paid, it's not paid. My goal about this podcast is about show the people what Bahraini can do. This is my goal. That's why I always support Brave, because of Bahrain. Sorry for this, because I need to mention it.
No, very important. When you said that you weren't paid, I was scared for a second you're going to ask me on the podcast to pay you. So I cannot say no. But thank God, because you didn't continue there.
Okay, let's start in comparing. What do you think that's the difference between Brave and the other organization?
In simple words, to make it easy to understand, I would say that Brave is the Apple, and the rest of the organizations currently is Nokia, the mobile phone.
Okay.
So, and the reason why I always use this analogy is because there was a time in our life where we always are looking for who has the next best model of Nokia, 3310, 3300, I don't know, many 33s, water drop, this, that. One morning we all woke up and we forgot that this brand existed. It was just lost. And what happened? It's not because somebody was competing with them. It was because somebody was innovative enough to create a new system called smartphones.
Okay.
And if they would have competed with the same system of finding new shapes to make it better, maybe they would have never beat Nokia. But they created a new system with the goal of making it easier for an individual human's life.
Okay.
How can you use this phone easier? How can you be more productive? How can we have... And that was a difference. And it's always about change. So for me, when they say that, how do you compare yourself with UFC and PFL and any organization that's out there, I say that we are very unique in its way because in multiple ways. First of all, we are not trying to achieve what they're trying to achieve. In other organizations, MMA organizations in the world, there's almost 7,000 organizations in the world of mixed martial art. And you're looking at only one organization actually profitable. 6,999 MMA organizations don't make profit. So why would I go into that business model or that organization? I would be stupid to go into that direction.
Yes.
So definitely I learned this very early that is not the best business model. They are in the event business model and not the sports business model. And our goal as Brave is to bring MMA into the sports business model and not in the event. Because if you're in the event business model, I always say this, that you could have the biggest MMA fight between Khabib and Conor McGregor, or you could have a fight between Shakira and Beyonce.
Okay.
And it's the same thing because you will be selling tickets and letting the world know. But that is an event. You bring a DJ or a best singer and make them perform, and that's an event. Why do you want to sell 5,000 seats? So when you build a brand through sport, but you're in the event business, one day you will see them going into celebrity fighting, influencer fighting, slapping, punching, spitting. God knows what you could go to because
you can see now what happened with Conor, everything that they use.
And it could happen.
Everything.
You cannot blame them because they did the right thing for the business. But it was not the right thing for the sport.
Yes.
And that is why I always say that we are blessed. One of the reasons why we are able to be consistent is because we don't have a bunch of lawyers and bankers who doesn't know what sports is running the organization. Our founders is Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa.
Fighter, it's not that easy. Tell us about the management that you need to control those fighters. Fighters not easy to control. And you are one of them.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, our mind works a little differently. I would, in a nice way, I can say that our mind works a little differently, and that's a lot to do with when you see a fighter, they're also different from other sportsmen. Because you are in a position where what you have done to yourself to reach to become a fighter is very different from what other athletes or any human, for that matter, has actually gone through. And so when you deal with fighters, for me, I always say that you have to be in their minds and understand it from their perspective. But at the same time, you also have to understand, once you understand their mind, you will realize that it is not the hard side that you look at. They are a very intelligent human beings. As fighters, to be able to be a fighter, the amount of torture you had gone through to your body and to yourself and to your emotions.
What does the fighter need from you? Or from the let's say organization?
The fighter really, for them, they need to see a platform. They need a platform where people they believe they're the best fighters. Every fighter believes they're the best fighters. And if you don't believe it, I don't want you in my organization anyways. I want fighters who believe they are the best and they are going to show that they're the best. So what they need from an organization is someone who can show them they are the best athletes and have a platform, a roadmap, a journey, organic journey without having to rely on promoters.
What do you think about who said that the fighter wants only money?
only money is a very wrong thing. It's a very wrong thing that if somebody says that fighter wants only money, I fully disagree with it, because and every human has their mind. And I'm not saying money is a bad thing. You need to earn money as an athlete for sure. But if you say that fighters are only thinking about money, that's a very wrong thing, because there are many examples of fighters from mixed martial arts, specifically mixed martial art, that has fought paying money to get a fight. And I was one of those individuals who had to pay to get fights because there was no fights around. Why do you have to do that? It's different. But fighters, I think always, a fighter who wants to be the best in the world, if he had food 3 times, that's healthy for him.
Okay.
He would be willing to do this journey for the rest of his life, because all he cares about is being the greatest fighter that the world has ever seen. And that feeling or that dream, believe me, it's a strong one. And I've seen this with some of the fighters, and I've seen the ones who have it. We, as the Chinese proverb says, not even a tiger's claw can pierce through your heart, because your heart is so strong.
Yes.
It's impossible you can take the dream away from me. It's impossible that you can distract me. It's impossible that you can play with my emotions. It is to be the greatest and to be the best fighter. It's not about how good you can juggle the ball or how good you can hand reflexes are. No, you have to be the best as a whole human, mind, body, and soul. Otherwise, you're not the best fighter. To be the best fighter, you have to combine all 3 together. That's the only way you can be the best fighter, if you can achieve that.
Can we go with the numbers?
Sure.
Okay. So let's talk about what is Brave budget.
That's serious numbers you're getting into now. That's the serious numbers. No, I wouldn't disclose my budget.
Okay, let's go. Let's say the value of the investment.
It's the same thing.
No.
But I would say that. So I would agree to you that 2 things. One, there has been a very strong support that we have received from His Highness Sheikh Khalid, for sure. And at the same time, it is very important that what you achieve with the amount, and that is what you're also proud of. I will tell you this much from the financial perspective, that when you talk about consistent growth, one of the key things that which I mentioned in the beginning also is economics.
Okay.
It is not only about one thing. And I mentioned the word that when you have organizations that have legal and bankers as the head of it, we are proud to have that. Our founder and our leader is Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad, because I say that this is the direction that we are confident that we will not lose, is because our founder has an extraordinary eye for talents.
Okay.
He has a unique, very, very unique vision for sports. For sports, not only MMA, for the whole of sports. And the eye for talent is extraordinary, but he also has a heart for looking at the development for athletes, industry, anybody within the space, heart for making sure that their development is the priority. And those values, heart which says that values are number 1 as a business goal. Achieve these values. And then number 2 is everything else can come into, but you need to make sure that you never lose what your ethos are. Because of this, our business model as Brave, from the financial perspective, we are looking at sports development, talent, and the economy. If these 3 things, one of them misses over the other, it's wrong. So if you look at MMA organizations,
again, the 3 is
sports development,
talents,
economics, just economy itself. If you cannot contribute to these 3 parts, your organization, one falls, everything crumbles down. So if you look at organizations today, leave UFC aside, and that's a big story to discuss why, but every other organization, either you have big bankers and legal people who are good at fundraising and taking money, and they go to the spike of using that money to show their brand is big, you spend it on everything else, but they haven't done anything for sports development. They weren't able to build talents or give talents what they want, and they were only focusing on economics. Their economics also crashes because it needs each other. But some people are there who goes through with the heart, good heart. Like you said, there are people who want to just do events or something where their mentality is, I want to just give opportunity to fighters. That's what all I care about. Okay, how will you give opportunity to fighters? if you don't have the economics or there is no development of sports in your country.
So this is the triangle of the let's say the organization.
Because our founder is His Highness and he has these three things, it was easier for our organization to take those vision and that clear vision that these three parts have to be a part of it.
Still, I want number. You said, let's say ask about Mohammed Mukayyef. You said double or triple. Okay, can I know the number?
It's triple. It's triple.
So it's just triple.
But it is again, it was never to compete with anybody. Absolutely not. And as you know, for us as an organization, Mohammed Mukayyef was scouted by His Highness Sheikh Khalid himself when he was at the age of 14 or 15. You know, and there was never, it was not about how much I will make from this individual.
Let's what I said is he's back home.
He's back home.
Back home, yeah.
That's the right word. And this was at that time, how would you think that he would be where he is? But again, the eye for talent is extraordinary. And it is an interesting story where there was Mohammed Mukayyef, 14, 15-year-old kid, his Instagram, one of the comments tagged my Instagram ID on it. So Mohammed Mukayyef looks at that tag and he was young and he's seeing comments, you know, you like to go through your comments when you're that age, and he clicked my name. You know, when someone tagged me in the comment, he clicked my name and he saw, oh, he's the president of Brave Combat Federation, an MMA organization. Oh, so someone tagged this president to take me to that organization. So he was grateful and he was like, okay, I want to see who did that good gesture. And he clicked the person who tagged me. When he clicked the person's name, he realized it was His Highness Sheikh Khalid. And he was like, how, why? So many questions in his mind. And these are those little stories where you know where we are going and why we are where we are. Because at that time, neither us as Brave or KHK, none of us looked at the talent of that age. But at the same time, we didn't even think that he would be where he is. But it was about what he's fought. And that is why, I'll tell you a little thing, in the Brave Nation, all our Brave fans and everywhere else, they use a term for His Highness. They call him the Prince of Gladiator. And you notice us also use that word because the fans and everybody has used it. But for me, I've always loved that term, and the reason why is it's not, people think it's because he's a prince of fighters, because of the amount of fighters that has changed their lives because of him. And for me, I say he's a prince of gladiator. The term is there because of the fighter you mentioned, which is a fighter of life. He's been, we know His Highness Sheikh Khalid, and we have seen how many people who've been fighters of their life, whichever field it is, in multiple different sports, in fighting for their own diseases or anything else. We have seen that he is a true prince of gladiator. And for me, that's why I love that term, because once you see when he knows that there's a fighter, not just an MMA, but a fighter, and he's doing the best he can to be where he wants to be, and he looks at him and he says that he's doing the right thing, you'll see that His Highness Sheikh Khalid have always supported, regardless of where you're from, which country, and you see that results today live with the amount of people that is around us, around each fighters. When you see Hamza Koiji walk outside, which we call as the KHK Power Walk, he's a team behind him. You will see Nepali, Pakistani, Indian, Dagestani, UK, American, everybody, different countries, flags around him and behind him. That team, the KHK Power, is not because of the country we've gone to or the people from different countries. It's because of the energy, and the energy is the energy that we get from His Highness Sheikh Khalid, and the energy is about Prince of Gladiator.
Let's go with the Brave International Combat Week. Tell us about the idea, about the preparation of these two events.
Brave International Combat Week, I think that has become a very important brand, bigger than what we thought it would become. When we started the Brave International Combat Week, it was to do justice to what the vision of His Highness is. So we knew that we have to create Brave, which is entertainment. So when we say sports, media, and entertainment, you have to mix everything together.
Yeah.
So the entertainment part was always there to make sure that it is about bringing tourism. It was about attracting people and everybody in the country, wherever we go with Brave International Combat Week, to have a fantastic time and never forget about it. And that love for having a great time with your family, with your friends, or by yourself even, you will never forget it. And that's a very important part about what we want to do with Brave International Combat Week. But on the other side is the media side as well. We want to make sure that this is a successful event in terms of how big the brand is going to get the exposure. So you have to put the best fights, you have to put the best athletes. And again, sports, media, and entertainment. So we spoke about entertainment and media, but sports has to be a part of it because development is key. So you'll always have an IMMAF event associated with it. And it is not just amateur MMA. Tomorrow it could be any other development sports, whether it is kickboxing, Muay Thai, or any wrestling, or any of them. But that's a platform that is created that is bigger than just a Brave event. It is a combination that combines entertainment, sports, and media for any brand that associates with Brave International Combat Week. So we started that in Bahrain, and the success of Brave International Combat Week was also, it was fantastic in the beginning when we had IMMAF World Championships 17, 18, and 19, 2017, 18, and 19, when it was growing and breaking records.
Yes.
People came to know that this combat week is different from any other combat week, because there are other combat weeks where the IMMAF was part of, but the development of sports didn't exist. The media exposure for them didn't exist. So why be part of a combat week if I cannot grow with it? When he came to Bahrain at the Brave International Combat Week, they grew, and today the history of IMMAF is a big history today, but it started in 2017 here in Bahrain.
You feel, or even the fans, now they have the knowledge. You feel the difference between before and after, because now you started the MMA with the, let's say, it's your gym. Okay, nobody knows about MMA. What do you think about now? What happened to the fans? Now we know that a lot of people, even that, because I already sat with the fans and took interviews, and can feel them. They speak, let's say, the MMA language.
Yes.
So Bahrain now totally different, and let's say they have the culture of MMA.
And when you spoke at the beginning about achievements, the first thing I said was what we've achieved for Bahrain. And part of achievement for Bahrain, one of the small parts of achievement is giving education of the sport to the public. And like you said, when you said they speak the MMA language, for a second I was smiling, because my biggest challenge in the beginning was when people say, what do you do? I say MMA. They say, oh, fantastic, you're doing MBA. I'm like, no, not MBA. I'm doing MMA. So that was the first language I had to change. Yes. And every time they misunderstood. They're like, what is MMA? So today when you say MMA language, definitely people are speaking the MMA language. The interest that we are seeing, I mean, from everything, from the economy of the sport as well, we are seeing people, the growth of the economy from where we were as one gym, a coach / fighter / learner, which I was, to today we're talking about becoming, for Bahrain, the largest exported brand. One of the largest exported brand from Bahrain is Brave Combat Federation. 35 countries and 5 continents. You can't think of another brand that has exported it to this many countries. When you think about job creation and talent development, you're looking at Bahrain's team has become the official team for international federation to host their events around the world, from commercial rights to media rights to getting events management, all of those areas. And we're talking about what Brave has become a platform for, whether it's becoming a brand that is exported, whether it's becoming a job creation, but even more on the tourism and exposure side, how much more tourism did we get compared to Brave in any other brands? Because when you look at Brave Combat Federation, you're in 180 plus countries, 800 million households on television, on the biggest networks, and 1.1 billion in reach is our digital strategy reach that we've had. So you can't compete with that exposure and with that exporting of brands. So if you look at the economic side of what it has done for the Kingdom of Bahrain, And it is a proud moment for us because, again, we say that innovation mindset that Bahrain has for its vision of His Highness Sheikh Khalid, we couldn't have done it if we didn't know what we were able to do. If we had to worry about, can we do this or can we do that, how will they look at it? But if they understood it, if you had the mind and the eyes and the heart, like His Highness Sheikh Khalid, like I mentioned, then you know that whatever you do, they're not bankers and lawyers sitting to look at what does it look on the balance sheet, but they're looking at overall, the benefits are so much more than the dollar that you spend.
Well, for fixing the cage, it cost almost 3,000 BD. One event, let's say in Bahrain, in our country, how much will cost?
You're talking about Bahrain as a country or any country?
In Bahrain.
In Bahrain, it depends on how
let's say
how big you want to.
Tickets and accommodation, fighters, everything. How much almost?
You know, we were lucky in Bahrain. You just mentioned that you're not being paid. And this is Bahrain. When you look at hosting events, I've gone to so many countries to host events, and every country you go to, the difficulty to host an event, you cannot imagine. Believe me, you will learn expenses that we never heard in our life comes in between. And they look at, if you look at why Bahrain has been one of the best at hosting events, it is not just about how much money you spend. It's because you spend $1 million, you can get a fantastic event. There's somebody else who will spend 10 million and take that event. The reason why Bahrain is being able to attract some of the biggest events, international organizations, when we started in 2016 with Brave Combat Federation, the amount of organizations that wants to host their world championship in Bahrain is not just because somebody else cannot pay more. Of course, there are people willing to pay more, but the difference is, if you came to 2017 World Championship or 2018, you would see the Kickboxing Federation president setting our tables. You would see the Sambo Federation president helping with being an MC. You would see a Wrestling Federation president setting waters and talking to the organizers. That I have not seen in any country. I will be honest. 35 countries, 5 continents, I have not seen being able to work together.
This is the idea of the council.
Yes.
But do you think that, let's say, for example, if we, let's say, have a building with there is a cage and they call it a Brave Arena, it will be good for Bahrain?
Absolutely.
Also, Brave, they have this idea to create like...
Absolutely. You will notice that I don't think that it's your first podcast, because the questions you're asking is the best questions I've ever had in my interviews, because these are the right questions. I'm so happy, really, because when you look at Brave events, I just mentioned how we collaborate, everybody works together. And what happens when we work together? When we're working together, we're building an industry that is worth spending money on, an industry that we call as economy. So we are young in the region of Middle East and GCC. We're young in sports economy. We're not young in sports. We're young in sports economy. Sports economy is new to the region. It's not like USA or Canada or North America or Europe. They have a huge sports economy experience. We are young at this point. So for us, working together here, we are creating that economy that is new to us. Today, when you look at MMA, you mentioned about Hamza as well. When he's walking in, you felt that feeling. The language of MMA is changing. Few points that you mentioned, what does this do? Today, you will see, God knows how many gyms in Bahrain, MMA gyms. You will see how many people are trying to sell merchandises. We just spoke about talents that is able to get jobs outside of MMA. So you build an economy that is growing, and if we don't have an economy that is worth spending money on, it doesn't make sense. So when we helped each other as a media organization, as an MMA organization, when we worked together, we created an industry and economy that you need an organization, and I need an MMA media, and I need an MMA merchandise, MMA gym. We need all of this. But what we are creating in the past 8 years with Brave, let's look at the grassroots, that it is expanding into multiple different industries, referees, judges, managers, gym owners, and how many of the Brave employees have gone out and started media businesses or work with other organizations.
I know that.
But they all came to Brave, just like me, with an idea to follow this vision and grow with this vision, and we all grew with this vision. Now you could do anything else. You must have been a wedding videographer. Now you're dealing with DAZN, Case TV, ESPN. It's different, so you started in 8 years time from a gym owner. Today I'm a president of Brave Combat Federation. So all this is because we grew with that vision that wanted growth, and if people believed in it, we achieved it. So we created this economy as a whole together. And I think that is a key thing when we talk about what's going to happen next. You mentioned about the building and the cage.
Yes.
I think that is a part of Brave Combat Federation.
What they call it in English? Let's say Brave Apex or
Brave Apex, yes. And absolutely. So a part of the growth is to expand into every part of the industry, collaborating with media platforms, because we are a media platform ourselves, collaborating with gyms and infrastructure because we are part of developing talent, creating a side activity for making sure that we are building assets, because in the end of the day, when you look at sports business, there's a lot of requirement of infrastructure, and without infrastructure there is no sports.
So when we going to see Brave Apex, or let's say Brave Gym?
I would tell you, we definitely had an idea. We were looking at franchising model. So we were talking about franchising model, and we had our first gym in 2019 in Pakistan was our first gym. And it started in 2019 December, and 2020 we had COVID. And the gym situations in COVID.
Yes.
But that gym till today has become the reason. Brave Gym in Pakistan was a reason today MMA in Pakistan is recognized. Pakistan hosted the first International Combat Week, hosted the Asian Championships in Pakistan. And today the director for South Asia is Pakistan's Federation President. And also they are getting the support from the government today. All this happened because of Brave Gym starting in Pakistan.
Look, it's only small things happen. Now it's grow and grow.
And if you think about it, just to add to that, even though it is a gym, it was not gym's job to do all of that. But because the name of the gym is Brave, it still had the values of Brave, whether it's an organization, whether it's a gym. So we thought of doing franchise of it. And then immediately we understood that doing franchises with other gyms would not end up good, because they have their problems. Maybe the ideas might not be the same. So we are rolling out our gyms in 2025. You will see a lot of Brave gyms around in Bahrain and outside Bahrain.
My last question, and sorry for the some are wondering why or will we ever see Brave event holding in USA?
Absolutely. I will.
Or what is the problem? That why we are. It's not USA.
No, there is definitely no problem. I think it is a very good problem to have, because you're talking about the biggest sports market in the world, sports economy in the world, and for MMA, the biggest MMA market in the world. So it is a good problem that we haven't been there. But I'll explain a very important point about Brave. And I will explain to you what that triangle, 3 important points of the triangle, but what does that achieve? What is the ultimate food? So you need the tools to create a food, and these 3 points are the tools. But what is the food? What is the product itself that we're trying to create? So when we say we're trying to change MMA from an event business to a sports business, the question is, what is a sports business? You said what an event business is, but what is a sports business? A sports business is similar to what we mentioned: sports development, talent, and entertainment, or economy, are the 3 factors for it. But when you combine these 3 factors, you will get sports business. And sports business, for example, is where you have governance, regulation. So let's talk about FIFA, which is the most famous, and everybody knows FIFA and football. I mean, at least in our part of the world, it's easier conversation to have. FIFA is a governing body. Then you have the AFCON, AFC, UEFA, all the confederations. Under each confederation, a very well-regulated system with the league format, the franchise or the league format that you want to mention. When you have this whole system, under that you have the amateur system. So, and it is supported by the government of the countries, the national, recognized by the IOC and the Olympics. And it is a structure, an ecosystem that is created that connects with each other, connects the whole world together through one sport, with security and regulation, properly governed. In MMA, we have none of that. So when we talk about sports development, how can you develop sports if it is not governed? How can you develop sports if we cannot get the government as part of it? How can we support sport if it is not recognized by the IOC? So there's so many factors that is stopping development of sport.
Okay.
And now we talk about talent. How can you develop talent if you don't have a system to create a Lionel Messi? Meaning, if you want to be a fighter today, I will advise you to spend every single day for 6 hours making YouTube videos. Because once you have become famous on YouTube, you can get any fight you want. You don't have to be a great fighter.
I got this.
But I would say that to my son today, because that is the way how he will be successful.
Yeah.
Because the sports system is corrupt.
Yes.
You know, in MMA, the system is corrupt. It's not his fault or my fault. I'm telling him the right advice.
Yeah.
But if you had a football system, FIFA system, you can be the greatest YouTuber. But if you play one match for Real Madrid against Barcelona in El Clasico, and I'm a Real Madrid fan, I don't care how big of an influencer you are. I don't want you to step in the pitch. If you are the greatest player, at you reach one age, you become 1-2 seconds slower. I want you out. I love you. You're the greatest player. I love you, but I want you out because of winning my team is more important, because that's a sports system. So in that system, you could have a player from Argentina or Portugal who has nothing in life and become considered as one of the best players in the world. I have never heard an interview of Lionel Messi because I don't speak Spanish, but he's still considered as the best player because he doesn't have to trash talk, he doesn't have to be good looking, he doesn't have to wear Louis Vuitton, none of that. As long as you have talent, you can become the best. In mixed martial art, that is not the case. As long as you have talent, it's not enough. So you don't have a talent development structure. That is also flawed. And the last is economy. 7,000 organizations, 6,999 is failed. So it doesn't have a sustainable business model. Brave Combat Federation has been for the past 8 years putting all this together, 35 countries in 5 continents. When we say it sounds nice, but what we're actually doing in each country is working with the government, working with the local promotions. And nobody has co-promoted more MMA events than Brave. Nobody has traveled to more countries than Brave. And from that, you can understand that every country we go to, we are building the government closer to the sports, giving the recognition, and we are working with the International Mixed Martial Art Federation to create the FIFA for 8 years now. So you look at it, why were we doing all of this? Now it makes sense when you look from the macro picture. We're all looking at only from the MMA picture.
You make me I want to ask you one more question. Do you think that we're going to see MMA in the Olympic game?
Very good question. I think that is a very subjective idea, meaning when you do, people don't understand how the Olympics work or the IOC work because they think that they look at Olympics as IOC. Olympic Games is summer games and winter games. So this is like an event, like a FIFA World Cup. It's events that happens every 4 years and it is hosted in different countries. So if tomorrow an event, let's say an Olympics is happening in Bahrain. If then Bahrain has a choice as a host nation to decide to bring in sports as demonstration sports to be part of it. Now that is one part of it. So what we have to look at is which country in the next years of hosting would want MMA in it, and the host nation has the rights to ask for it. Which other countries that would ask for it? That is one opportunity. The second one is you have to be recognized by the IOC, and to be recognized as an IOC sport, you have to go through the channel of being recognized by WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency, and then you have to be recognized by Sport Accord, and then you would be in a position to become an IOC recognized sport. So for that, you have to do a lot of check boxes as a federation or organization to reach there. So 8 years, what we've been working is working closely with the International Mixed Martial Federation.
Yes. Wait, let me focus. There is some work happen about this one.
Yes.
8 years.
So 8 years, what we've been working is to build all of that together. So when we go to countries, always we work as partners with IMMAF, and you'll see the International Mixed Martial Federation, where we had the Brave International Combat Week. The importance, I'll come to you, in Bahrain, where it started, and we built all the entertainment, sports, media, everything together. But when it went to another country, it was a part of getting recognized in that country. Today, Brave International Combat Week, the first event, International Combat Week we did outside of Bahrain was in Serbia. And when we did in Serbia, it was a world championship of IMMAF. It was supported by the government. It was the biggest event of 20,000 seater venue full. The biggest event we have done till that time, and the biggest event in Europe till that time was the Brave International Combat Week. But there was sports development. People saw what sports is. They saw the development side. They saw the exposure through Brave. And most importantly, everybody enjoyed. 20,000 people enjoyed.
And there is a safety, there is everything.
Absolutely. So that was, we went with, and then Brave International Combat Week went to Colombia, became the biggest combat week in Colombia, and then went to Pakistan and became the biggest in Pakistan. And I told you the story of what happened in Pakistan. But so we worked very closely with IMMAF to build this structure in every country. But in this 8 years, if you look at it, you have over 120 or 30 different countries that is under as national federations under the IMMAF, out of which 60 plus are recognized by their national sports authorities or their NOC, National Olympic Committees. And that is a big development. And to follow the rules and regulations and to make sure that you are tested by WADA, you are consistently not stopping to do events at the highest level possible and following every checkbox that the recognition of IOC requires. They have been following for 8 years. And because of this collaboration, we are achieving to get that support in countries from the government and private sector.
Is it the IMF job to take the credibility of entering the Olympics?
Absolutely. And that is why but you cannot do this alone. To create this global ecosystem of MMA what we talk about, to create the FIFA structure, Brave Combat Federation, we are not sitting and saying that we will be the one doing the FIFA structure. You cannot do it alone. You need everybody to be a part of it. So if you look at the history, just for you to know, before Brave, you will see a lot of pictures of us going and visiting the Fertitta brothers.
Yes.
You will see us in many organizations around the world, the biggest at that time in around the world. We have met with all of them. Some have come here to meet us, some we have traveled to meet them, but we have met everybody. You know why? Because we try to sell them this idea that we all have to come together to create a much more bigger iPhone and get out of the Nokia world.
Yes.
But they couldn't see the smartphone at that time, and they are still blinded by it. So we bought in that system, and we knew that if we start, we have to start from that position. It takes a 10-year plan. We are at 8 years today, and it was a 10-year plan to create the FIFA structure for the fastest growing sport in the world, for the most global sport in the world. It was not easy, but it is young, so you still have a chance to change that mind. So yes, it is IMMAF's responsibility, and they have done fantastic, but if our sport is born upside down. We never had an amateur level. We never had regulation. We have organizations who are already doing pro. Why would I want you to come and make you strong enough to police me?
Yes.
I don't want you to police me. So right now you need me and I don't need you. So somebody had to be brave enough to take the step and say, I'm going to be brave to build them up so that if they are regulated, we will have a much more bigger industry for mixed martial art. And only the brave can achieve that.
I'm sure.
That's where the name comes from.
I'm really, really happy for this podcast. And I want to promise for you, this is not the first one. And you will come again, inshallah.
I will ask you that I want to come again many more times, because the questions you've asked, what we're discussing, we could go on for 3-4 hours in detail.
I'm really happy, and I learn a lot from you.
Thank you very much.
I'm bigger than you, but you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of things about fights. So we want also the people to get what you have of knowledge and to understand that this fighting is not it's not a game that we go, two people is fighting and some of them, they will put the money on them. No, it's about life.
Yeah.
And now we can see that the fighting changing your life and even my life.
True.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me. It was absolutely a pleasure.
Thank you.